Welcome to A Changed Life. This is a podcast about choosing differently, how you think, how you relate, and how you lead yourself. Here we focus on the inner shifts that create real momentum and open up what's possible next. I want to start today by asking you something. Have you ever had something happen to you that felt so wrong, so violating, that your entire nervous system just lit up? Where justice felt like the oxygen that you needed, and you needed it immediately. I have. And what I learned in the year that followed is something I wish someone would have told me the moment it happened. So that's what today is about. Welcome to A Changed Life. I'm Ilyse, and I am so glad that you are here. So a year ago, just a couple of days ago, I lost a job under circumstances that were wrong. The kind of wrong that has a name, that has legal implications, and that left me feeling like the ground had just disappeared underneath me. I want to be careful here because this episode, it really isn't about me or what happened to me. It's about what I did after. But I need you to feel the weight of it because I think you've been there too. Maybe not in this exact way, but you've had a moment where something was taken from you that you didn't give permission to take. And maybe for you, this is when you were a child. Maybe for you, it was when you were a teen. Maybe it was a month ago. Maybe it was 6 months ago, 2 years ago. This kind of thing can happen in many different ways in our life. So I want you to think about what that is for you. A relationship, a job, trust, your sense of safety, your sense of self. And in that moment, the body does what the body does. It might want to fight. It might want to fix things. It wants someone to see that this was wrong. And that feeling is so real and can be so intense. It makes complete sense. And I'm not going to tell you to just let it go, because here's what I've learned about the phrase, let it go, is often code for swallow it, suppress it, pretend it didn't happen, pretend it didn't matter that much. And that is not healing. That's just pain in a quieter, invisible room. And here's the thing about that. That energy, that toxicity, it is living inside of your body. So the idea, let it go, can really be detrimental. So I didn't let it go, but I also didn't react. And those are two very, very different things. The first thing that I did was I got very still. I focused on myself, my own well-being, my own center of gravity. And I want to pause on that because I know how hard it is when you're activated, when something has genuinely wronged you. At that time, your brain is in that state that is not interested in stillness. Your brain, it wants resolution. It wants the story to end a certain way. And it will run the scenario on a loop and offer you 100 different versions of how you could respond, what you should have said, what they should have said, what you're going to do, or what you're going to say. And this is your nervous system doing its job. It's trying to protect you. So I want you to see all of that efforting that you do after something happens like this. It makes sense. You're not crazy. But protection in that state often looks like reacting in ways you'll regret Or, and I see this a lot, staying so focused on the other person that you lose yourself completely. And when you lose yourself in their story, you hand them something they don't deserve. Your energy, your focus, your future. The question is not, what did they do? The question is, what do you want your life to look like from here? So after things settled, after I had taken care of myself and let some time pass, I took action, real action, documented action, the kind that required me to be clear, calm, and grounded. Not the kind that comes from being activated and wanting someone to hurt the way I hurt. And here's why that distinction is so incredibly important. When you act from a wound, you're still in reaction. You're still being driven by what happened to you. The other person still has the wheel. And when you act from a grounded place, you have the wheel. You're not chasing justice because you need it to feel okay. Let me say this part over. You're not chasing justice because you need it to feel okay. You're taking steps that align with your values and your ethics and your morals because that's who you are, regardless of the outcome. That is a very big differentiation. One is seeking justice to hurt the other person, and there is an agenda. And the other is seeking justice and releasing the outcome, trusting that the outcome will be the outcome, and then so it is. You can let it be at that point. I took the steps I took because they were the right thing to do, not because I needed a particular result in order to feel like I won. And I'm going to tell you, all of those feelings and thoughts, they were there. I had to consciously use all of my tools. I had to use my breathing. I had to use meditation. I had to use sweating. I had to use all the tricks in my toolbox to be able to get myself to a place of quiet calm, of that stillness. It did not come, quote unquote, naturally. I believe over time, when we're in situations and we continue to use our tools and continue to use the skills that we're learning in this life, over time, it can become natural. It will be the natural way that you, your body, your brain, your nervous system all responds in unison. I will tell you that for me, this was a massive shift, and it changes everything about how you move through what's happening. Because when you need the outcome to feel okay, you give the outcome enormous power over your peace. And the outcomes are not always in your control. People don't always get what they deserve. Systems don't always work. Apologies sometimes never come. But how you show up for yourself, that is always in your control. And, here's the part that I really want you to sit with, because this is where the work actually lives. At some point, I stopped asking and looking at and dissecting what was done to me. And I started asking, how did I get here? Not as a punishment, not as a way to blame or shame myself, but as a genuine curiosity about myself. How did I arrive in this situation? What did I miss? What did I override in myself? What did I know that I talked myself out of? What excuses did I make for either the person or the situation? What patterns brought me to this doorway? That question is uncomfortable. It is. It requires something of you that looking outward is never going to give you, because when you look outward at what they did, you don't have to do anything except be right. And being right might feel good. It's validating. The whole internet will show up to validate you. But being right does not move you forward. Asking, how did I get here, moves you forward, because the answer to that question contains information that will actually change your life. It will show you patterns that you've been repeating. It will show you where you've been abandoning yourself. It will show you what you actually believe about what you deserve. And when you see that, you can change it. And I say this so often, we cannot change what we do not see. It's the same as we cannot heal what we do not feel. So some of these things are just absolutely required. That is the work. Not picking apart what they did, but getting genuinely curious about yourself and what your role was and how you arrived there. And I want to say this really clearly. Taking that kind of look at yourself is not the same as excusing what was done to you. Both things can be true. Something can be genuinely wrong, and you can also grow from it. In fact, the growth is only available when you're willing to look at both. So there's a word that comes up a lot in these situations. Can you guess? It's forgiveness. And I want to offer you a different frame, because I think the way we talk about forgiveness keeps people stuck sometimes. Forgiveness is not a gift you give the person who hurt you. It's not something you do for them or because they deserve it. Most of the time, they don't. Forgiveness is something you do for you. It's the decision to stop carrying something that was never yours to carry in the first place. And the forgiveness I needed most wasn't even directed at the other person. It was directed at myself for not seeing it sooner, for overriding what I knew, for the ways that I made myself smaller to stay in a situation that wasn't right for me. That self-forgiveness is where real freedom lives. Because when you hold yourself in contempt for how you got somewhere, you'll repeat the pattern trying to prove that you're not who you feared you are. That is such an important thing to sit with for a second. And I'm going to say it again. When you hold yourself in contempt for how you got somewhere, you will repeat that pattern trying to prove you're not who you fear you are. And when you forgive yourself, when you say, I was doing the best I could with what I knew, and now I know more, that is when you actually become someone different. That is the identity shift that changes everything going forward. You know, a year later, I can tell you this. My life has improved in every single way. Financially, spiritually, emotionally, physically, in ways I genuinely could not have predicted, standing in that wreck of the situation of a year ago. Not despite what happened, but because of what I chose to do after it. And I want you to hear that, because I know some of you are right in the middle of something right now. You're in that activated place. You're in the wanting justice place. You're in that, and it's so hard to think about any other place. I see you, and that's real. You're allowed to be there. And I also want you to know that the version of your life that exists on the other side of choosing yourself is better than you can currently imagine. But you have to be willing to take your energy back. You have to be willing to stop living in their story and start living in yours. Because here's the truth. If I had stayed consumed by what happened to me, if I had kept all my focus on that situation and that person, I would not be here. I would not have built what I've built. I would not have become who I've become. And the door didn't just open. It got kicked open. And I walked through it. So here's what I want you to leave with today. Whatever happened to you, whatever is happening to you right now, At some point, there is a question available to you that is more powerful than any question you'll get from staying focused on what was done. And that question is, how do I want to show up from here? Not what do they deserve, not how do I get even, but how do I show up from here? Who do I want to be on the other side of this? What does my life look like when I choose myself? When I look at my life in hindsight and I remember this situation, how do I want to remember how I came through it? I want you to sit with that. Let it work on you. Let those questions work on you. And if you want to go deeper on any of what we talked about today, come find me. This is my specialty. And largely because I've lived it and I haven't done the things that I'm telling you. And I've lived it and I have done the things that I'm talking to you about today. And so the best way to do this kind of work is to do it with somebody that actually has been through it and has the result that you may be looking for too. I want to thank you for being here today. Thank you for choosing to keep growing. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. If something in today's episode resonated with you, you'll find a link in the show notes to book a free consultation call. Or you can visit ElyseCraft.com to explore my programs and free resources. Nothing changes until you do. And when you do, everything does. This is a changed life. Not all at once, but for good.